Welcome to a deep dive. Sometimes, to really get a handle on global economic currents, you have to look in some very specific, well, almost surprising places. Forget the big stock market headlines for just a moment. Today, we're zooming right in on a market you might never have even considered, the Global Carp Pliers Market. Yes, you heard that right, carp pliers. Sounds incredibly niche, doesn't it? But stick with us here because analyzing the specific tool's market size and, its growth around the world, it actually reveals some genuinely interesting patterns. We're using data from a cognitive market research report looking at consumption, leisure development across different regions from 2021 all the way through to 2033. So our mission today is simple. Unpack this report, pull out the most important bits of knowledge, and really understand the trends. Let's jump in.
It's true. Looking at a market like this, so specific, can be surprisingly insightful. It really shows that even within these highly specialized tool categories, there's significant, measurable commercial activity
Mm-hmm.
and clear growth trajectories unfolding globally. This report, well, it gives us the actual numbers to explore that.
Absolutely. So let's set the stage. The big picture first, the global overview. According to the data we have, the Global Carp Pliers Market. It was valued at around $224 million. That was back in 2021. And looking ahead, the projections seem quite strong. The report forecasts the market reaching about $289 million by 2025, and then expanding pretty significantly, actually, to over $480 million by the year 2033.
Right, and that projected growth, going from about $224 million to $480 million over roughly a decade, that translates to a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of about 6.55% globally, which
Yeah.
is a steady, healthy rate of expansion for a specialized cool market like this one. It suggests consistent expected demand increases worldwide.
Okay, 6.55% globally. That's the baseline. Now, how does that actually break down when we look region by region? Let's start with North America. It was the largest market in 2021, right?
That's correct, leading the pack initially.
So North America's market size was valued at around $86 million in 2021. It's projected to grow to nearly $108 million by 2025, and then reach about $169 million by 2033.
Interestingly, though, the North American CAGR at roughly 5.77% is actually a bit below that global average we just mentioned. It's solid growth, definitely, but maybe not quite as fast as the overall world market is projected to move, which tells us some other regions must be growing significantly faster to pull that global average up.
That's a great point. So let's dig into North America a bit more. The key countries. The United States, obviously, it dominates. It counts for the lion's share. The U.S. market was valued around $64 million in 2021, expected to hit over $121 million by 2033. That's nearly doubling, with a TGR just over 5.4%. Still solid.
Still very solid, yes.
Canada is the second largest market there. Started around $16 million in 2021, projected to reach over $33 million by 2033. Canada's growth rate, a little quicker than the U.S., about 6.25% CAGR.
Slightly faster clip, yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting within North America, I think. Mexico. Mexico's market was, well, much smaller. Started under $6 million in 2021, but it's forecast to reach nearly $14 million by 2033.
And what really stands out about Mexico is that growth rate. Its CAGR is projected to be around 7.68%. Now, that's higher than both the U.S. and Canada, right? And significantly above the regional North American average. It really indicates a particularly fast-developing segment for these pliers within Mexico compared to its northern neighbors.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, what specific factors might be driving that accelerated demand down there.
Fascinating. Definitely raises questions. Okay, let's move across the Atlantic. Europe, another major market for carp pliers. Europe's market was valued at just over $61 million in 2021. Projections show it growing to about $78.6 million by 2025 and reaching nearly $127 million by 2033.
Okay, so Europe's overall CAGR is projected at around 6.15%. That's much closer to the global average than North America was, actually.
Right.
It suggests a large, sort of mature market, but still showing consistent, healthy growth.
Right. And within Europe, you've got several countries making significant contributions. Germany and the UK are among the largest. Germany was about $12.8 million in 2021, expected to grow to nearly $25 million by 2033. The UK was close behind, $10.4 million in 2021, projected over $19 million. So both are substantial players, solid growth around that 5 to 5.5% mark.
Steady growth in the big European economies.
Exactly. And then you have France, Italy, Russia, and Spain, also notable markets, each starting between, say, $4 million and $9 million back in 2021, and projected for steady growth over the decade. Most of them look like they'll roughly double their market size by 2033.
Consistent doubling across the board there, it seems.
Pretty much. And then you have other European countries like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg also contributing. Switzerland actually shows particularly strong projected growth, potentially more than doubling its market size by 2033 from its 2021 value of about $2.6 million. And the rest of Europe category, that also represents a significant and growing slice of the pie.
So,
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
That also represents a significant and growing slice of the pie.
okay, we see North America and Europe as these large established markets. Solid, steady growth. But as we hinted earlier, some other regions, they're showing much more, well, dynamic expansion.
Exactly. Let's pivot now to Asia Pacific, because this is where the growth story really, really picks up speed. The Asia Pacific market for carp pliers, it was valued around $48 million in 2021, but get this, it's projected to surge to over $122 million by 2033.
Wow, okay, that's a dramatic increase, and it gives APAC a projected CAGR of just over 8.1%. That's the highest regional growth rate we've seen in the report, right? Significantly outpacing the global average and North America and Europe. This region is clearly a major driver of the overall global market expansion.
It certainly looks like it. And within APAC, China is the real powerhouse here. China's market size was around $16 million in 2021, projected to reach over $45 million by 2033. That's nearly tripling its market size in just 12 years.
Tripling. That's quite something.
And India, too. The report highlights it as a key emerging market, and the data backs that up completely. Starting from about $6 million in 2021, India's market is also expected to nearly triple, projected to reach over $17 million by 2033, another incredible growth trajectory.
Really remarkable growth in both China and India.
Japan is also a large established market within APAC, started around $9.5 million in 2021, projected to reach over $20 million by 2033, so roughly doubling. Still strong.
Solid doubling there, yeah.
South Korea and Australia also show strong growth, each expected to nearly double from their 2021 figures. They were just over $4 million each, and they're projected to approach $10 million by 2033.
The significant growth in China and India particularly, it really stands out, doesn't it? And while the report gives us the data, the what, it doesn't deeply delve into the why this is happening so rapidly there. I mean, is it tied to growing disposable income, changing leisure habits, or something else specific to, say, carp fishing culture, or just general tool demand in those economies? The data poses some fascinating questions about the underlying drivers.
It absolutely does. And that's often what's so interesting about these deep dives, right? The questions, the data prompts. Beyond those major players, you've also got other APAC markets like Singapore, Southeast Asia, Taiwan, all showing steady growth, collectively adding quite significantly to the region's overall surge.
Okay, so let's move south now. South America. This region's market grew from just under $11 million in 2021 to a projected nearly $25 million by 2033.
Okay, so South America's growth rate seems to sit somewhere between that faster APAC pace and the steadier North American European rates. It's a solid upward trend for the region as a whole. Healthy growth. Brazil leads the way down there. Started around $4.4 million in 2021, projected to reach almost $11 million by 2033, so more than doubling its size.
Strong performance from Brazil.
And the report also notes Argentina, Colombia, Peru, and Chile each contributed between roughly $1 million and $2 million in 2021, and they're all forecasted to double or nearly double their markets by 2033 as well.
Consistent growth across those key South American countries then.
Seems so. Okay, let's look quickly at the Middle East. This region also saw significant growth from about $10.5 million in 2021 to a projected over $23.5 million in 2033.
Again, solid growth there, roughly doubling the market size over the forecast period. Similar pattern.
Saudi Arabia is the largest market specifically mentioned in the data we have, started at $3.8 million in 2021, projected to grow to over $8.8 million by 2033.
Okay.
And the report indicates countries like Turkey, UAE, Egypt, and Qatar also showed, consistent upward momentum, contributing to that regional growth picture.
Good context.
Finally, let's touch on Africa. Now, this is the smallest regional market in the report, valued at about $6.7 million in 2021. However, it's still projected to nearly double, reaching roughly $13.5 million by 2033.
Right. So while it's smaller in absolute terms, that projected doubling still indicates meaningful growth potential, even if it's from a lower starting base.
Exactly. And the report highlights Nigeria and South Africa as leading the market within the continent, though specific long-term projections for those individual countries weren't detailed in the source data we looked at.
Understood. Just the regional leaders noted.
Right. And the rest of Africa category is also expected to more than double its market share by 2033.
Okay, so pulling all this together, what does this deep dive into, of all things, carp pliers, tell us about the bigger picture?
Well, the data overwhelmingly shows strong global demand for this specific tool, right? And it's expected to continue its significant expansion over the next decade or so. The pace of growth, it varies. Established markets like North America and Europe, they show consistent performance, while regions like Asia-Pacific particularly are experiencing really rapid acceleration.
Right, so what does this all mean for you, listening in? It means that even in a market that might seem incredibly niche, really specific, there is genuine, measurable commercial activity happening. There are clear regional leaders and these dynamic emerging growth zones, especially as we saw in APAC. The data confirms a solid overall growth trajectory globally, but with these fascinating variations from continent to continent and even country to country. And that pretty much wraps up our deep dive into the, well, surprising world as the global carp pliers market. We've navigated the data from that cognitive market research report, looking at market sizes, growth rates, regional performances.
It's been quite the tour. It really has. And it just highlights how insights into global economic patterns can sometimes pop up in the most unexpected places. Remember, all the figures and trends we discussed today are based on the verified data presented in that research report.
Crucial point.
Now, here's maybe a final thought for you to mull over as you go about your day. Considering the substantial and, frankly, rapid growth we saw projected in markets like China and India, countries perhaps not traditionally top of mind for a specific niche product like carp pliers, maybe not in the same way as parts of Europe or North America, what underlying economic or cultural or even, I don't know, technological shifts might be fueling that particular demand? What's driving someone in Mumbai or Shanghai to buy carp pliers specifically? Something interesting for you to consider as you look at seemingly niche markets around the world. Okay, let's unpack this one. We're taking a deep dive today into, well, a corner of the market you might not even know exists.
Right.
The carp pliers market. Specifically pliers for carp fishing.
It sounds niche, doesn't it? But there's actually quite a bit going on there.
Absolutely. Our source for this is the Global Carp Pliers Market Pulse report. That's from Cognitive Market Research. And our mission really is to get a handle on this specific slice of the fishing equipment world. See how even something this specialized, tell us about bigger shifts.
Yeah, how niche markets reflect those broader.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Tell us about bigger shifts.
Yeah, how niche markets reflect those broader economic trends and consumer habits.
Exactly. So what's the big picture here? The report says it's niche but growing.
That's right. It's definitely a niche segment, but it is growing. And that growth is really tied closely to the boom in recreational fishing generally.
Okay.
Especially carp angling, which has become, well, pretty popular in places like North America and Europe.
So, pliers are pliers. Mostly, right? Why the need for carp pliers specifically? What's driving people to buy them?
Well, that's where the specialization really kicks in. Standard pliers often just don't cut it for carp anglers.
Oh, so?
Think about setting up intricate rigs. The hook, the line, maybe small weights or swivels. It needs precision.
Right. Fiddly stuff.
Exactly. And delicate hook removal is key. You want to release the carp quickly and safely. Plus, crimping connections securely without big, clumsy knots.
Okay, so anglers are actively looking for tools designed just for those tasks.
Precisely. And this fits into a wider trend we're seeing across fishing, more interest in specialized tackle for specific types of fishing.
And I guess finding them is easier now, too.
Definitely. E-commerce is a huge factor. You can find almost any specialized tool online now. Plus, the whole outdoor gear market has been expanding.
Yeah, that makes sense. And are the pliers themselves changing? Any innovation?
Oh, absolutely. Innovation is definitely helping fuel interest. Manufacturers are responding.
Like how?
We're seeing more compact, multifunctional designs, pliers that combine crimpers, maybe split ring tools, line cutters, all in one handy tool.
Reducing the clutter in the tackle box.
Exactly. Convenience is a big selling point for anglers.
Okay, so specialized needs, easier access, clever designs that paints a pretty positive picture. But it can't all be smooth sailing, surely. What are the hurdles for a market like this?
No, Definitely not smooth sailing. Well, first off, it's tied to a hobby, right? So seasonality is a major challenge.
Ah, yeah. Fishing seasons, weather.
Exactly. Sales can fluctuate quite a bit depending on the time of year, weather patterns, even just regional interest levels changing. It makes demand unpredictable.
Makes total sense. Like any outdoor activity, really. What else?
Well, the report really highlights the pressure from uh, low-cost, often unbranded pliers flooding the market.
Right, the cheap alternatives.
Yeah, and that makes it tough for the companies making genuinely high-quality, premium tools to maintain their profit margins. It's a constant battle.
And it is still a pretty small pond market-wise.
It is. It's a subcategory within fishing tools, so the overall scope is inherently limited compared to, say, general hand tools.
And I bet those cheap ones don't last very long either, especially around water.
You hit the nail on the head. That's a key restraint mentioned. Those low-end models often use materials that just wear out or corrode super quickly.
Which probably doesn't build much loyalty.
Exactly. It erodes customer trust and makes people hesitant to buy those cheaper options again, or maybe even pliers in general if they have a bad experience.
So looking forward then, how is the market adapting? What are the trends shaping where it's headed?
There's a definite push towards better quality and durability. We're seeing much more use of corrosion-resistant materials.
Like stainless steel.
Yes, stainless steel, coated alloys, even titanium in some higher-end models. Things that can stand up to constant water exposure.
Makes sense. Anything else on the design front?
Ergonomics is huge. Manufacturers are focusing much more on comfortable contoured grips, making them easier and, frankly, more pleasant to use for extended periods.
And maybe some clever features too.
Yeah, things like adding small LED lights for fishing in low light, or maybe magnetic holders so you don't drop them in the water quite so easily. Little things that enhance the experience.
Okay, smarter and tougher tools. How about getting the word out?
Influence marketing is playing a bigger role. Fishing YouTubers, Instagrammers.
Ah, showcasing the gear in action.
Exactly. Promoting specific branded pliers to their followers. It's becoming quite an effective channel.
Interesting. And any sign of broader trends like sustainability?
Yes, actually, it's starting to show up here too. More eco-conscious anglers are looking for durable products that last. Reducing waste.
So buying quality means buying less often.
Pretty much. And some brands are responding with things like recyclable packaging, appealing to that environmental awareness.
So let's sort of tie this together. We have this really specific market for carp pliers, driven by specialized needs, better access, and some neat innovation. But facing challenges like seasonality and those cheap knockoffs.
Right.
And the future seems to be about better materials, smarter design, using influencers, and even a nod towards being more eco-friendly.
That sums it up well. It really is a little snapshot of bigger forces.
It really is. So here's something for you, the listener, to think about. How does this demand we see in such a niche area for durable, multifunctional, maybe even sustainable carp pliers? How does that reflect what you expect from products generally?
Yeah, think about quality, convenience, maybe environmental responsibility.
Across everything you buy, whether it's fishing gear or electronics or, clothes, where do you see those same demands playing out? Something to ponder.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.